Good afternoon. Welcome to the City of Laredo Port of Entry Advisory Committee. Sorry for the late start, but we'd like to call meeting to order at 6:08 p.m. Then a motion to call meeting to order.
Motion.
In favor? Okay. We'll do a quick roll call. Jean Lindgren.
Here.
Present. Carlos Fernandez. Absent. Rafael Miner.
Present.
J.D. Gonzalez.
Present.
Present. Mr. Guillermo Tish did excuse himself from the meeting. Mr. Luis Hinojosa. Absent. Mr. Juan Pasquel.
Here.
Present. Mr. Arturo Dominguez.
Present.
Mr. Rilo Richard. Present. Mr. Puig also excused himself as he being out of town. Mr. William Young as well. Mr. Prida.
Present.
Present. Mr. Morris. Robert Morris.
Present.
Mr. Jerry Jason Hinojosa. Present. And Mr. Jerry Maldonado. Not present. Non-voting members, Ms. Malagon. Not present. Ricardo Cervantes. Not present. And Mr. Eduardo Garza. Not present. Okay, we will continue to item number 3.
Do we have a quorum?
Excuse me.
Do we have a quorum?
I think we do. Yes.
5 is.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So yeah. Yes, we do. Thank you. We'll go to item number 3 with the public and citizen comments. I don't know if any other citizens that do have a registration card with another one as well. But that's fine. So we'll start with Mr. Rafael Flores. Okay, sir.
My name is Rafael Flores. I'm a native-born Laredoan, but I was raised in Detroit. So like I was telling a few gentlemen here earlier that my parents are from Mexico. I don't think like a Mexican. I don't think like a Tex-Mex, and I don't think like a Texan. I was raised in a community, kind of like Heinz 57 ketchup, every race and nationality you can think of up in Detroit. So I have a tendency to think outside the box, and I understand we have a problem on the Mines Road. I don't live in that direction, but I see them as, on Facebook. And I'm a retired Fed. I worked as an immigration inspector here at Laredo. From 83 to 96, and because I wasn't in the clique, we don't have cliques in Laredo, I got double promoted up to Dallas. But before I left, I was also the union president, and that's when we only had 2 bridges, and we closed Bridge 2 at midnight. We opened it up at 6. And as union president, I tried to make a few improvements. Dennis Nixon from IBC and I used to go around all the time about, to open up more lanes and blah, 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 and this and that. Yeah, no problem. That little bank across the street from IBC, the drive-through, this is back when we got paid with a check. Open that thing up at 5 o'clock when people were getting out of work on Friday and you only got 2 lanes open. You open that, all your lanes up, and I'll see about getting all the 10 lanes, the bridge number 2 open. Not another peep out of it. So, like I said, I have a tendency to think outside the box. I understand the World Trade Bridge has been open experimentally 24/7, and probably part of that problem is because business people don't want to work 24/7. But like I was telling Mrs. Limon, that I come from the old school. I'm ex-military also. The KISS principle. If you don't know what that is, it's keep it simple, stupid. And if this didn't work, then let's try something else, which is what I was always trying to do here to improve conditions for the employees. And one Saturday, when there was a lot of traffic, it was real slow inside, I asked the boss, hey, can I go and open up a lane? Yeah, sure, go ahead. So I go to customs. I'm going to go lane. Will you guys match us? And they agreed. Later on, I opened up another one. We went from 4 lanes to 8 lanes. Traffic was cleared. Naturally, that was before the hostile takeover and 9/11. But my thing is, it's time to try this 24/7 again. And like I told my boss's boss up in San Antonio, if the system doesn't work, humor me. let's try it out for 30, 60, 90 days. I understand you already did it once, but then there was an economic downturn. Again, try it for 30, 60, 90 days. If it doesn't work, and I got one more suggestion. I understand you open up the bridge at 7 in the morning. Open it up at 5 in the morning. And is Ms. Bettis here, by the way?
She's not here at this moment, but she usually does
Yeah.
join us.
Because she asked me to come by because I asked her, I said, just out of curiosity, do you have anybody on this committee that has my knowledge and experience of actually working at the POE? And she said, no, come on down and we'll see about trying to get you on the committee. So, I don't know what the procedure is for that happening or not happening, but I was expecting her to be here after I keep hounding her for a lot of issues.
Well, there's a meeting on Tuesday at the rec center at Faskin. I'll
Okay.
invite you to go. There's gonna be a lot of information regarding Mines Road, everything that is being constructed, when it's gonna finish.
Oh, yeah.
The study that is being done in Riverbank, it's gonna be very, very informative to the people, to the public, which is very necessary because like you, there's a lot of people upset with Mines Road.
Oh, yeah,
All
yeah.
I can tell you is, to us, it's business, it's good for the city,
So let's make it better.
and let's make it better, yeah. I agree with you.
So what do you think, just out of curiosity, what do you think, you know, if you can't open it 24/7 for 30, 60, or 90 days, what do you think of, and this is the type of committee that can pressure the port director, because it's now only one agency, open it up 2 hours earlier.
Well, right now, they don't have money because it's the end of the fiscal year.
Who
But
doesn't, who
Mr.
doesn't have,
Lindgren,
who doesn't have money?
the government, the customs, local customs.
That's what they tell you. I'm telling you, I was an insider. Okay.
Mr. Lindgren had already brought us that
Yeah,
subject.
so, as a example, comments are well taken, and there's many ideas, and like I said, I'm here, you mentioned we don't have any experience in the POE. We have a lot of people here experienced on the day-to-day logistics.
Right.
And we could say is, there's many reasons, like, you know, Mr. Dominguez said, customs has a budget, they're there, that's politics, that's a different
And,
route. But, as you know.
The new budget starts
well,
next month.
yeah, well,
So that's not an
that's-
excuse anymore.
The issues we've always had is the logistics and what happens in Laredo, the crossings. It comes from, it's not people internal in Laredo that decide when things cross, it's everybody else outside, as in, we're not doing, interstate transportation or inside the United States. It's cross-border into Mexico and from Mexico here. So it takes customs paperwork, you need invoices, you need paperwork, you nothing. So basically, that's a problem. We always try to talk it also with Mexico Bridge and the US Bridge to open up. And when we try to expand the hours, the traffic, as you see right now at 9 a.m., it's empty. So if you open at 7, it's gonna be empty. If you, at 11, it's empty. Just because of how the circuit works. Well, I'm not saying it's right, and there's always have to be opportunity to see how we can change that and let the users, at the end, we're just the service providers. The end users are the owners of the product that cross in and out, which are companies inside of Mexico and from Detroit, New York, Florida, all those companies that use us as service providers and use the port as the passage. You know, they're just their paperwork. They get in the office at 6, 7 in the morning and they're giving us paperwork 11, 12, 1, 2, 3 p.m. So that's kind of the delay. Because the bridge has been opened before and it opens at 7 for empties, at 8 and at 9. And you can see the numbers, it's really no traffic. So the problem is not from 9 to 12. It usually starts after 12, 12:30. Unless, of course, there's an outage, which would happen last week, that created
Right.
chaos. And then outages happen very more often, but if they happen at, again, 9, 11 a.m., in 30, 40 minutes, the backlog is very minimum. If you happen outage at 4 p.m., when you're receiving, 10, 15 trucks a minute, and that's 40 minutes, that's 400 trucks.
You're preaching
so-
to the choir. I agree with you on
Well,
that.
that's what I'm saying.
But you also agreed that, maybe you didn't realize that you agreed with something on me, that it's the business people that aren't there, like from midnight to 8 or something, doing all that paperwork, so it's not just barely getting out at 6, 7 in the morning because
No,
They
what
don't
I'm saying
wanna
is,
work.
it's,
they don't want to work
we could,
24/7.
the locals, we could work, there's a lot of warehouses open 24 hours, a lot of yards open 24 hours. It's the paperwork that's needed from outside, and if that customer, we can't really enforce it. We ask for it, we like I said, up here you're seeing like 5 different associations related to trade.
Right.
And we tell our customers and we express a concern that the bridge is free from 8 AM when it opens, or 7 AM when it opens, to 12, that anything they could do to start their paperwork and their information earlier, that's what we tell them on our meetings, we tell them when they come visit, we have conventions, when we have symposiums. So, but like I said, we're definitely gonna take your comments, and that's something we're here for, to make it better. There is that town hall meeting that
Yeah.
Mr. Lemay is talking about, which would, I think would be a
And
good idea.
one more thing while I'm still up here, a 5th bridge is not the answer. All you're gonna do is move the problem from Mines Road to 83, and now you're gonna have probably 2 major arteries. So, you know, this thing about the 5th bridge, all that money and people that you would spend there, again, apply it to the World Trade Bridge.
Sure. Thank you very much for
All
your
right.
comments, Commissioner Flores.
Thank you.
Oh, welcome.
Evening, Jose Ceballos. I really don't have a public comment. I just want an opportunity to possibly comment during the World Trade Bridge expansion update, so that's pretty much
Yes,
it.
perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Otherwise. So any more public comments online or any, perfect. So we're going to item number 4, approval of the minutes of August 17, 2000, of our meeting on August 17, 2022.
Motion to approve. Second.
Second, all in favor?
Hey.
Aye. And now we're, item number 5. Items for discussion. Item number 1, the update on the World Trade Bridge expansion project and any other matters incident there too.
Good evening. Kent Richard for the record, City of Laredo Assistant Bridge Director. We have Mr. Sid Milkey from SEA that is chiming in at this moment, and he will be giving us an update on that project. Mr. Milkey, can you hear me?
I can hear you, can you hear me?
Yes, sir, loud and clear.
All right, I'm gonna share my screen real quickly. Oh, I can't share my screen. Is my presentation up there on?
No, sir.
PowerPoint?
Does he have permission?
Sid, if you
Yes.
go ahead and proceed with your presentation, the committee members have a hard copy in front of them, so they can follow along from their copy.
Okay, well, we'll do. Good evening, my name is Sid Milkey. I am with Structural Engineering Associates, prime consultant for the City of Laredo for the World Trade Bridge Expansion Project. I prepared this presentation tonight to update the committee on where we are with moving forward with this project. You saw the screen before. This is the World Trade Bridge today. Enhancement projects under construction, the Fast Lane relocation project. I know everybody can't see it, but this copy is an overall view. It's looking straight up the middle of the bridge and straight up the middle of the Fast Lane project. So it's a very good shot. I give credit to Fast Limited for this aerial photo. It's an excellent video showing directly how the Fast Lane is going to come straight through the project and exit right up onto I-69W. My next slide is basically just a quick update on the Fast Lane, where it is. The top left corner are the speedy toll lanes, and the middle is the phase loop number 1, which is almost complete at this point in time. I think they're finishing the air conditioning right now. In the middle of the page is loops number the Fast Lane project. You can see there's a gap between, okay, is my video up there now?
No, sir.
Nope, okay. Well, anyway, if you have a copy of it, you can see there's a gap between the last booth number 4 and the IT restroom. That's for 2 more lanes of expansion in the future. Other projects under construction right now, the TxDOT has finished up most of the I-69 widening pavement, and that includes the hook pavement coming out of the prime port of entry exit boost. I would say that's 95% complete. There may be a little piece necessary right next to the exit boost that the city of Laredo can construct to finish out that project very quickly. So that's on city property, so they can proceed very quickly. The existing lanes way in motion is pending, waiting on funding. The design is done. We have the plans done. The infrastructure contract, the bid documents are prepared. And so hopefully when funding is reevaluated for that, we can move forward very quickly with that. The next step is expansion of the World Trade Bridge. The next slide I have that I'm showing is basically the project plan view. The project is planned to add 1 new bridge directly from the existing Mexico, I think it's the primary or the toll booth area directly into the primary area of the World Trade Bridge. That's going to be an 8-lane bridge. So 8 lanes of traffic will go directly across into the primary area of the existing port of entry, where they'll have, I believe it's 15 lanes primary processing capability there. This project will be adding 2 more lanes southbound into Mexico on the upstream side of the existing bridge, which will bring the total capacity southbound into Mexico to 8 lanes and northbound into the United States of 10 lanes. Now, there's other 2 lanes that I didn't talk about are 2 lanes that are going to remain northbound into the United States, which will be designated as a fast lanes. They'll be on the downstream side of the existing bridge, and they'll shoot directly into the new fast lane project that we're almost done. Progress since I addressed the committee last on March the 8th. Interagency working group was created to facilitate moving forward with permitting and coordination on the project. Right now, that working group consists of representatives from CBP, GSA, FHWA, which is Federal Highways, and TxDOT in the Laredo district, and also some from Austin. The President's permit application was officially submitted to the Department of State on April 29th, and we know that it was received in early July 2022. This year we received word from the Federal Highway Administration during their usual review and approval process that the statewide transportation improvement program, which includes $1 million funding for the World Trade Bridge expansion project, has been approved at the federal level. So that means now we can move forward with our environmental clearance on the project. Right now, we're working on getting an advanced funding agreement, AFA, put in place and approved between TxDOT and the city of Laredo, which will allow us to move forward officially with this environmental clearance work on the project. Right after we found out that the statewide transportation improvement program funding was approved, we scheduled a what we call the NEPA pre-clearance scoping meeting. When we invited the FHWA, CBP, GSA, TxDOT, and others to participate in this. This was just a preliminary meeting to let them all know that pending the approval of the AFA, we would be having a scoping meeting. We introduced the project to the group members at that time and identified what we thought the project was going to be like and what the environmental clearance was going to be like. And we received quite a bit of comment and good information back from those agencies relative to which particular areas of study would be important for this project during the environmental clearance. On August the 29th of this year, the city of Laredo received a letter from the United States Department of State stating that the NEPA clearance or the environmental clearance for the project must be completed prior to urban processing. I just want to elaborate a little bit on that. This is a change in the procedures that have been established prior to 2020 that those times the presidential permits have been issued, the NEPA clearance came afterwards. This administration is interpreting the executive order a little differently, and so they've advised the city that we now have to officially go back and prepare the NEPA clearance documents before they will do any further processing on the project.
How long will that take?
We already have started the NEPA process with our pre-clearance meeting, pre-scoping meeting, so we're anticipating, in the next slide, I'm talking about an updated timeline. Based on this information, we've created a revised timeline on the project. This year, in October, we anticipate getting the final signatures on that advanced funding agreement between TxDOT and the city of Laredo. That is the precursor to scheduling an official environmental clearance scoping meeting. All the parties that need to be notified, they're waiting for us to ask them what day, either in late October or early November, we can do this. So we've already let the groundwork get started with this NEPA clearance process. It's going to take about 2 years. We believe at best it's 18-month process, probably 2 years. There are some things that were identified during our pre-scoping meeting. Things such as air and noise quality, because the port of entry right now is basically surrounded by residential area. And also there is a mussel that lives in the river right downstream from where the bridge is now, and that mussel is considered, what's the word I'm looking for, Yvette? It's
Endangered?
It's endangered. It's an endangered species of mussel. So we're going to have to do some extra work investigating, is that mussel living in the area of the bridge of the construction project? If it is, how many of them are there, more or less? And then I think we're told that we can relocate those mussels downstream to another safer place. But that all takes time, and it also involves the Fish and Wildlife Service of the United States, and they have rules and regulations on how to go about that. So that's one of the reasons we're not sure of exactly how long this clearance process will take, because that's a new twist, if you will, that we haven't seen before. So we anticipate talking about a 2-year process, October 22 to November 24 is the environmental clearance process, and based on the letter from the Department of State, that means in December of 24, that's when the presidential permit application will recommence its processing. We would then plan in December of 2024, I think that's, let's see, we'll probably apply for other permits at that time as well once they start processing the presidential permit application. Things like the Coast Guard permit, we've done some investigation and we can start that process early, which we'll do as soon as we can. We anticipate possibly getting our presidential permit in July of 2025. So that would be, now that the process has been reversed, if you will, that will be the precursor to really getting started with the construction. So we want to have all our plans in place by the time the presidential permit is issued and start. So once we get the presidential permit issued, get it in our hands, and we have some other permits, as I mentioned, to do at that time. U.S. Coast Guard actually has a requirement to permit the bridge because the Rio Grande is considered navigable, and you have to get permits from IBWC and also from the Army Corps of Engineers. We're hoping to wrap all that up and be able to start construction in November of 2025, and it's about a 2-year construction timeline for both bridges. So we hope to open both bridges up in May of 2027. Of course, anytime that we can cut this schedule shorter, we will, but the decision by the White House to not issue or not process the presidential permit application until after the NEPA process has been completed, it creates a much longer project development time. So that's all I have to report for the project at this point, and I will be able to answer questions, hopefully, and any questions that the committee may have.
Thank you, Mr. Milky. Just one quick question, I read about it on the news as well, this delay. But I don't know, there's just a report written wrong, or is that the actuality, that both NEPA clearances are needed for any of the projects to go ahead? I'm talking about Bridge 4, 5, and the World Trade Bridge expansion, or are they working totally separate?
You better, Ken, I'm gonna need an interpreter. I'm having difficulties
The microphone.
hearing on my end for the question.
Oh, is the microphone over there, not this one?
I believe it's on that one. Mr. Milky, can you hear us?
Now I can hear you better, yes.
My microphone is on. Can you hear me there, Mr. Milky?
Now I can hear you guys.
Okay, so my question was, is that report I read on the news about this issue, it mentioned that both NEPA clearance process need to be cleared before any of the two projects continue. And I'm referencing World Trade Bridge and the new Bridge 4,
Okay, I'm
5.
still not hearing completely all the question.
Okay. Sid, can you hear me?
Yes,
Okay,
yes, I can hear you.
okay. Chairman Richard is asking if this NEPA clearance process will be for the World Trade Bridge expansion as well as for the Bridge 4, 5?
Two separate processes.
The process that I'm talking about is only for the, does not envision at any point in time anything relating to Bridge 5-4. That project is on a separate track, it's under a separate application to the Department of State. We're being told by the Department of State that they're looking at World Trade Bridge totally independently of Bridge 5-4. So the operation that you're asking about, the NEPA clearance, is totally relative to Bridge 5-4. Totally related to World Trade Bridge expansion, I'm sorry. Bridge 5-4 has a totally different set of environmental clearance issues to deal with compared to what we have here at World Trade.
Okay, thank you very much. Now, Mr. Dominguez?
Yeah, you mentioned there's different studies. Is it the same studies or are there different studies between a new bridge and the expansion?
It's basically the same environmental clearance process. The process talks about in studies multiple, I don't remember off the top of my head how many different areas of study there are. Depending on where the project is, in the case of the World Trade Bridge expansion, this piece of land and this crossing have been studied many times in the past, and while we cannot directly utilize those past studies and say it's been done, the studies, we could utilize the findings of those studies to cut short often many of the studies that need to be done. There's a lot of things, one thing that we're not going to have to spend a lot of time on is cultural resources, because the area in and around the World Trade Bridge has been studied culturally, archaeologically, multiple times over the past. So that area study will be quite short. We can rely upon existing data to just basically do a book report on that. However, there are areas like air and noise, because we are in an area where we have residential receptors around us. We will have to take into account the air and the air quality that's being generated by the port of entry, and any expansion, increased traffic throughput, and also any noise that may be increased as the increased throughput is there. So those areas will be taking a little bit more time, but when you have a brand new bridge location, you basically have to study every one of the modules, and again, I apologize for not knowing what they all are, but you have to study them from scratch. You're starting from scratch. There's nothing else. There's no data. There's no historical data. There's no previous studies to rely upon. So I hope that explains it, in that expanding and doing a NEPA clearance or an environmental clearance for an existing old operating project should be much shorter in time, much simpler to accomplish, short of having the endangered mussels show up in our case on this project, than a brand new project. a brand new international crossing.
And who decides to shorten the time?
We believe it shortens the time, and typically, I mentioned 18 months as a minimum. If everything goes well, we can possibly finish and get a clearance in 18 months. It may take a little more, it may take up to 24 months. In the past, when I was being asked on other projects in other parts of the state between the U.S. and Mexico, environmental clearance can take anywhere from 2 to 4 years or more. I mean, you're never guaranteed because on a new project, because you don't know what you're going to find. Here we have a much better handle on what we're going to find because, as I mentioned, many studies have been done before. We can use that information, use that background, and a lot more is known about all of the area around us here. A new project does not have that benefit, so I can't really say how long a study for a new location international bridge would take these days. It definitely will take more than what I would consider 24 months to be.
And the last question, does Mexico have to do a mirror testing?
Mexico has a different process, and the answer is no, it's not the same process. It is quite a bit less intensive, if you will. So they don't have to do the type of environmental clearance work that we do. They do have an environmental clearance process in place, but it's not to the magnitude or the depth that our process is. They do have other things that they have to consider. And also, in this case, since we have an operating port of entry on both sides, we know what the traffic paths are, we know what the traffic counts are. We can project logically and realistically what the increased traffic is going to be. So it's very easy to go through those financial and traffic studies for an existing expansion compared to a new facility. And those are some of the studies that Mexico has to do also. They have to do their traffic studies, they have to do their environmental clearance, and also they have to get their approvals from the SICT and the Mexico IBWC CELA. So while their process is not as elaborate as ours and doesn't include the number of agencies that ours does, they do have a process, and that's the other thing we're trying to engage right now is to engage our partners in Mexico, which is the state of Tamaulipas in this case. They are the concession holder for the Mexican port of entry on the Mexican side of the World Trade Bridge. Unfortunately, I say unfortunately, the governor's changed now in the state of Tamaulipas, so we're reaching out to the new government to get them to come on board with us and assist us and move through their process simultaneously with ours. And one of the things that I did not have on my chart of things to do is in October and early November, we do want to start another dialogue. We have a dialogue going with the Mexican federal agencies, the SRE, the SICT, CELA, and other Mexican federal agencies, and we want to restart that dialogue with them, with our new Mexican partner, if you will, the state of Tamaulipas and the new government with the state of Tamaulipas. So,
Thank you.
I was a little long in my answer there. Their NEPA clearance or their environmental clearance is not as long and involved as ours, but they do have a process, and we need to engage our Mexican counterparts so they can start on their process as well. Because this is a binational effort, we need both parties to move forward simultaneously.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Lindgren wants to say something.
Yeah, Mr. Milky, I have an easy question. Prior to the updated timelining, what was the date, anticipated date for the new bridges to open to traffic?
Were you able to hear him, Sid?
I couldn't hear that. I couldn't hear
Closer
that.
to the mic.
Mr. Milky, I have an easy question. Prior to the updated timeline, what was the anticipated month and year for the new bridges to open to traffic?
It was roughly 1 year prior to what I have in my update today. I believe we anticipated we're opening mid to later 2026. We believe this process change has added about 1 year to the process for the expansion.
Thank you.
Would you like to comment? You wanted to comment on this item?
No, everything's fine.
Oh, okay, you're good? Okay, thank you. We'll go ahead and, if there's anything up for discussion for this item? If not, we'll continue to go to item number 2. President,
Thank you, Sid.
thank you very much to our presenters.
Thank you, appreciate the
Thank you.
opportunity to give the committee an update.
We welcome Solid Waste Director John Porter regarding the disposal of liquids by the City of Laredo landfill.
Good afternoon, Chairman and members of the committee. Alejandro Benavides, Assistant Solid Waste Director. Let me just get started. The landfill life of the landfill right now, we have 4.5 years on the current cell. We're right now under modifications to construct another cell that's gonna give us another 5 years. Give us 9 more years, and then we have a AEP line that runs through the middle of the landfill that it's gonna get removed. So it'll give us another additional 10 years, approximately 19 years. And then, of course, the city acquired the Ponderosa landfill that'll give us 100 years plus so we can dispose of waste there. On the liquids, okay, currently the current landfill, the city of Laredo landfill, does not have a permit to take liquids. We are currently working on a permit modification so we can accept liquids there. The time frame would be 2 to 3 years so we can get the paperwork through, do the constructions. Ponderosa landfill is right now, we don't take any waste there. Everything is concentrated on the city landfill. We don't have personnel or equipment to do both landfills. And basically, the amount of trash, it's basically close to one landfill. That way we can maximize the space in that area, in the current landfill, which we have all those modifications, like I said on the previous slide, could be up to 19 more years at the current landfill. So, anybody that would like to get rid of liquids and stuff like that, they do have to have an analytical test, they have to be profiled, and they have to be approved by whatever site they take it to. There's the Environmental Testing of America, they can send their samples to them so they can test them out, see what's contains in the liquids. And
Just a quick question, if they have that permit or that analytical test, they can dispose of liquid, or they can't dispose of it right now in Laredo, with or without that?
right now, the current landfill does not have the permit to take any liquids. We are working on a permit amendment to accept liquids. And that's what we're working on. And that'll be in about, hopefully it's less than 2 or 3 years, but that's what.
Does that include the Ponderosa site as well?
Ponderosa does, we can take liquids over there, but right now, we don't have the personnel or the equipment to manage that over there.
Ponderosa was,
It was acquired.
it was acquired by the city, correct?
Yes.
Okay, and so they shut it down? They bought it and shut it down?
It's, right now, it's temporarily closed because there's no waste that goes over there. Everything, all the waste goes to the current landfill.
But it was a working landfill, correct?
Yeah, it was a
It was a working private landfill.
Private landfill that was.
Which is established to accept liquids because they did the lining, so they're allowed, and it kind of hurt our industry by the city taking over. The fact is, we didn't have to do an analytical test, and you guys have it referenced on there right now. So as an industry as a whole, because a lot of times as FDA has refusals, we have to take exemptions whether we destroy it or export it, and a lot of times we're allowed a destruction. Ponderosa was the easiest method. Right now, where we have a situation is, our closest place, I think, is Robstown, and just the cost involved. Is there a way that we can kind of, take into consideration, we're all understaffed, man. And we always talk about money and getting personnel, just for that one-time objective, just to take care and cater to the citizens of Laredo, the business of Laredo.
Well, that's why right now we wanna do the permit modification so we can accept it at the current landfill.
That's a
That's
2-year
2
process,
years.
yeah. And the thing about.
We have buildup, sorry to mistake, we have buildup in our warehouse. There's 42 million square feet of warehouses in Laredo. That's probably a couple thousand warehouses. but if everybody has one pallet, you know, that's of products from soap detergents, anything that got rejected and it's the cost effective. Is there a plan that could be established to reopen Ponderosa for 1 week or for 5 days or set up before the 2-3 years? Maybe not tomorrow, maybe not next week, but make a plan and maybe through our associations get, you know, everybody in the warehouses put in the request and how much volume we have and how much time it needs you to work through that volume. But we need one of those solutions, I think. Now that we know that, which makes sense, not what you're saying, not that it was a correct decision, but it makes sense what you're talking about. But I think, like the other gentleman said, that we got to think a little bit outside the box. I think we got a problem here. It's not just I have 2 pallets and I have 1. It's the whole Laredo has liquids that need to be destroyed, and they're not naturally hazmat or anything like that. It's just, you know, they're there that way. They're occupying space.
Could we open it 3 or 4 days a month or something like that, so you schedule in advance, we have these things that need to be destroyed. We understand low staff, it's an issue everywhere.
Yes.
But thinking outside the box, knowing there's a great need, knowing it belongs to the city and it has permits already, we don't have to wait 3 years for a new permit to arrive for the current one.
Yes, Mr. Morris, I guess, and I'm guessing, Mr. Benavides, I'm guessing you can't tell us right now if you could open it or not. I guess, what would be the correct way for us, or to who do we have to present to go and do a more feasible plan? Because that's what I know we're not gonna get a decision right now, but what is the correct approach for us to ask that?
I can
And we have Councilman and Mr. Landine as
Go
well.
back to and talk to my director and we kind of, it's been brought up like that, like, you know, what if we open once or twice, but, you know, we gotta look at that, because it is a cost also to the department, but.
You're gonna charge us
But,
to
you know,
dispose of it.
it's something we can look at.
You know, the one thing is, and we have to get permission. There is a fee involved, not at the time of our bill, but at the time of disposal. So taking that into consideration, I mean, we're paying up front. And the second thing, I know that going way back and doing my own personal, experiences that I have with the local landfill, they explained to me that the way the enzymes fall into the ground, it goes in our water system, that they will not be able to do it here at the local dump, whereas they did the lining there at the Ponderosa, so that's why they're allowing us to do that there. You gotta take that in consideration. I mean, listening to the POE here, hopefully our information provided, we can get to the right directors and just give us some kind of guidance so we can do a process. And like I said, we're not asking for full time. Once a month will allow us, to distribute, because FDA gives us within a certain time frame, and as long as we can fit within that window, it'll allow us to go ahead and pay in advance, which you guys are getting your money up front, where you say that you don't have enough time for personnel, and at that certain window time frame, it'll be volumes of money for the city and for the staff, just for allowing us to go ahead and do what we have to do.
And also one thing that we would need would be how much it costs to open Ponderosa for a day, for an hour. How much it costs, how much people do you need, how much, what machinery do you need? Do you have it available? What do you need to open it? And then we would know, okay, it's gonna cost X amount of dollars per day. Okay, how many people do we need to send, and how much it's gonna cost us to actually cover that cost?
So what was the intent to buy it? To shut it down?
No, the intent to buy is to have a landfill for the next 100 years for the citizens of Laredo.
To open it in 50 years from now? Or what?
No, that's not the intent,
I mean, we really need a landfill that we can throw the liquids. I mean, if you have a liquid that is worth $1, we're not gonna ship it, pay freight again to dispose of it, but we have to dispose of it. So we gotta find something, a solution, because we really need to throw things away.
And the one thing to take into consideration, as mentioned right now, in reference to the cost, we pay per pound. You can incorporate that in the cost per pound, so it matches out where it's a break-even point or even a win for the city as well, so we're just working on that.
And I think through associations and our forwarders and our warehouse owners, we could definitely give you an estimate of what's the volume, and from there, proper planning, say, okay, for this, we need, 1 week, 2 days, whatever it is, and we could definitely start like that. So I was just saying, where could we, I don't know, maybe start something, with upper management, city management that can help us create a plan, or from your directors as well. But us as the industry, we're here to help find a solution, but we need, make sure you're reciprocal on that side, and you accept, or try to help us give us a solution, but
But we
we'll
have-
give you the volume.
We used
Yeah,
to
we'll
throw
do.
things.
Yeah,
We used
yeah,
to throw
that's-
with things at the landfill that's there.
Not liquids.
No, no,
Liquids, they always shut us down, and
No,
that,
but the house is
goes back for
closed.
history. But one thing, we know you're the messenger. We could see the passion that we have our discussion with, so hopefully you can carry that passion to your
No,
management.
definitely, I'll sit down with them and we'll discuss it. I mean, we have discussed it. We have, like you said, once a week or once a year, twice a year, what is gonna cost? Because, it is a cost, because we have to transport equipment over there,
Yeah, so-
it's a cost to that.
Once a week is probably hard on the demo
Cost
people,
for it,
like,
but-
one full week the cost of demo people is just concentrate on 1 week. I don't know what is needed, 1 week, 10 days, 20, we could give you the volume that
Yeah.
will make a deadline, people, something.
Appointments, I mean, we can
We'll,
work
we'll
with
do,
appointments.
we'll work, we'll find a solution. We're on our side, we'll help you whatever you can, just help us
Yeah,
on that side.
I'll go back and discuss that and.
Thank you. Yeah.
You guys.
Councilwoman.
I have a question. I just want to ask the panel, forgive me if I don't understand this or know this, but you used to dump liquids at Ponderosa?
And they were a private entity, and the city bought them out, and when they bought them out, they shut them down. So they cut our business opportunities out for liquid merchandise.
Okay, so, and that's the only place that you all can
For
dispose of
liquids.
liquids?
For liquids, yes.
So, how many of these locations are there within, like, I mean, you said Robstown, right?
That's the closest place.
That takes liquids.
And you're looking at transportation cost. You have to pay the official, the FDA official, because it's a supervised destruction. And then on top of that, staff that we have to send out. And then the actual destruction, and offloading and everything. I mean, there's a lot of fees involved that kind of.
Logistics
yeah.
fiasco.
So this has been going on for like, how many years now?
Since they closed it down 2 years ago?
2 years.
Last year of January last
Year and a half.
And has the industry expressed concern, or did
that's where
anybody
they're
at the
using our
city
venue.
know?
Yes.
That's what we brought them in.
I don't know how many times it has been publicly brought up in council or not. It's been brought up in the industry meetings and conversations between us but this information I did not have. I think it's a quick solution. There is at least there's a light at the end of the tunnel that there is a solution because there's a place that exists and has a permit. So that's a good start, I would say.
And how much does it cost, like roughly extra for you all to have to take the liquids out of here versus just,
I want to go to an extreme, and this is just dealing with the hazmat that we're dealing with. It's like $45,000.
here?
No, a shipment.
Well, that's a full trailer, but in the hazmat. But
Everybody's paying an additional,
That's, and I'm going to the extreme, but then if you want to take a regular shipment, you're looking maybe, we used to be able to dump it here in Laredo for about $300-400. Whereas now we have to go out of town, including shipping, you're looking about $1,500, about $2,500.
so opening this back up would save our industry.
Our business membership, yeah.
businesses, right?
and it's a business opportunity as well for the city.
To collect the revenue.
Yeah, it's not,
from
we're
that.
not asking you to do it for free. It has a
We
cost.
don't do it for free. There was always a fee involved and it's per pound. So that's how we were being charged. So, I mean, it's nothing like, open it up and we'll see how we collect the revenue. There's immediate revenue on this, so.
Okay, yeah, we have Chief Landine here for
Yeah.
management.
Thank you, Councilmember. Mr. Chairman, I just got off the phone with Assistant City Manager Ria Zulmia, and he was telling me that we do have a location that can collect a liquid, not in bottles, as far as glass. They'd have to be plastic or aluminum, and they can even be taken to the wastewater treatment plant in the South Laredo. We have an area for them to be dropped off. They get run over by heavy machinery to drain the liquid, and then they pick up the material to properly dispose of the material. Examples, if you're bringing in, if there's like a pallet of beer, for example, expired beer, Gatorade or water, whatever the product is, as long as it's not a hazmat, it can be put there, they run over it so that the liquid can drain, and then they dispose of the plastic to the recycle area and stuff like that. So it is something that can be done and worked out and advertised appropriately. We understand that there is a breakdown of communication, and we're gonna work together to better communicate that with our customers, you all, and the business industry to address this matter. We were gonna have the director of solid waste here. He's on a conference, so excuse his absence. His assistant director's here. He's telling you what the landfill can take. They cannot at this point, but we do have an alternative.
In reference to that, I think getting into the weeds on, I know that there's a reference that we have to get, there's a phone number, we get the permit. Just, we do have that option, taken into consideration. This is really delicate, and I know that the way we should do it here is at Ponderosa, we have to film, in addition to having the FDA official watch the complete destruction, like I said, they run over. So we're doing that, taking pictures, and we report it because it's part of our package to avoid getting penalized. And we have to do it within a 90-day time frame. So if we do have to do that process that you're explaining, that it's allowed here, to go ahead and give us details, go into the weeds and let us know, you have to get this permit, you have to do this, you have to do that, because we can share with our members that it could be an immediate success for all of us.
And I appreciate your patience. I know that we talked about it at the last meeting. I did talk to Mr. Mia, as he oversees those departments that would be addressing this concern, and so the appropriate department isn't here. This is a utilities department that should have been represented here. So ultimately, his department does not take the product, does not, so we recognize that. That was a communication error. I'll take the responsibility for that because I was here. But I did communicate with him. He said, yeah, we can take it. I just thought that the presentation would include options for you. I did not see this presentation beforehand today, and so ultimately I'll take the responsibility for the disruption and the time that it took for me to get you that answer, and we will find a mechanism to address it.
Thank you, Chief Lundin. Just quickly, and it's a great solution. It's the first solution. We still don't want to remove the other solution off the table, but probably for not to wait till the next POE meeting, I'll try to organize with city management and probably meeting with RIA, so we could get the details and we could spread it out with our associations on what the process is, what the, what's the need for us to use that facility for that. So I'll follow up with you and your team so we could get that first information. So we probably sometime next week or the next 10, 15 days.
Give us about a week to get you something nice and step by step.
Yep.
To give you the mechanism, and then we will turn it over. And then if I could ask the chair, you can place this item again so that we can report it formally to the, and then we'll initiate the process. We understand, and I told RIA, it's not fair that you all have to be going out of your community to go to another community to do this.
Well, thank you very much. Really appreciate it.
And depending on the demand, maybe they can
Correct.
go to Ponderosa.
And I have another comment. So also, Chief Lundin, we should consider the Ponderosa option as well, just because I know that they were used to that. And I have one question also for the panel. Hazardous materials, you all never used to dispose of them at Ponderosa, or you?
That's different. That's a whole different.
Okay,
ballgame.
that's different. So you're just talking about what we can already accommodate right now?
Now that you're on that topic, Laredo alone has had issues on hand sanitizers. So sitting in warehouses, there's 100 trailers, and it's creating a situation where, like I said, I went back to the funds that this created. I think somebody got it down at 23,000. Right now, Customs should be confiscating these goods, but they're not going through the protocol because they don't want to take the expense. So there's an option out there, and we're kind of reaching out to our members to find out how we could do to fix it. And this started back when the pandemic happened. FDA was supposed to provide certain guidelines, which they did not do because the fact is it was new to them. And they still haven't put out guidelines on this. And that's why CBP hasn't imposed fines or hasn't been taken up, but it's a hazard. And as you saw a few years ago, that somebody was collecting merchandise hazardous as hot as it gets here. There was an explosion in a bunch of warehouses. So we're hoping we can kind of reach out to the city to see what they could do. What he's, I think, through 100 trailers, or how many trailers are there?
There's over 100 trailers sitting in warehouses, just.
Yeah, Chief Lundin, that's actually a serious issue because they're flammable, right? And we've been having some fires a lot lately in the Mines Road area, so I don't know if you can also put that.
It'll be part of the equation, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
That's important, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ramirez. Really appreciate your time.
Yeah, that was the last slide.
Like, what's like?
Hey, hey. All right.
Thank you. Anything here? At the end of the year?
I don't know if the next slide, but.
Oh. Thank you, sir. We'll be, if there's no more discussion on that item, we'll go to item number 3, presentation by Police Chief Claudio Trevino on the emergency plan that will be implemented when there's an outage or occurrence at our trade bridges and any other matter.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, Assistant Chief Manuel Maciel for the Laredo Police Department. I'm going to give a little brief overview of what was presented at council as part of our plan for when these outages occur. And just to know, it's a plan that's already been in place. It's not the first time we've had them, and it doesn't happen at any particular time. So our assets are positioned to respond in the mornings, evenings. So to begin with, let me see this on the map.
There we go.
So the primary focus of this plan is to, when a shutdown does happen, is to keep the mobility going for those who are not in the commerce of crossing the bridge, the residents, your employees who are moving about in the area, and first responders, emergency vehicles, because we do have a large amount of residents in and around the surrounding area. So our primary responsibilities are to clear flyovers, overpasses, flush these out so we don't have people stuck in there, regular citizens, and also maintain the vital intersections open. There's not much that we can do with the volume of traffic. It's going to be a standstill. We can't really move it around, but we can start organizing it maybe off to the side of the roads and maintaining those intersections. We have a heavy social media presence that we start pushing out alerts, and also with great communication with the bridge department. So in this little slide, you can see the intersections that we've identified that we put officers at. As the delay grows and the traffic lines grow, of course, our footprint extends. We've had issues where they go on the loop all the way towards McPherson, up on 35, circling in towards World Trade. We were recently given overtime to mitigate some of these congestions. Specifically, last Friday was a perfect example. And not including also construction. That's usually what throws everything out of whack. About a month ago, we had the closure at Milo. The construction crews in our discussions with TxDOT didn't take into consideration the unanticipated consequences of those closures, resulting in traffic congestion up in Sarah, Killam, et cetera. Moving forward, we've had bi-weekly meetings with TxDOT when they now present us their construction projects, their anticipated closures, and we've narrowed it down to where we push on them for their contractors to hire enough off-duty officers for traffic control. So we're getting a little bit better, but this is the overview of what we have in place, what we've always had in place. One of the main issues, of course, is the residents. Wolf Creek is a big concern there. Those are some of the highlights or the intersections that we highlight. And again, this is very fluid, depending on the amount of volume, the day of the week, et cetera. It changes on us, and we adapt to it as fast as we can. I'll take any questions if you have any questions.
Just, Friday was a good example of this plan that you said you've been working on for the past month or so. What did you see different this Friday, and any different things that you did that in the time of alleviated traffic go faster, pretty much the same? Are we not there yet on what your, the local
Yeah,
police department is? Or-
For us, for the police department, Fridays is our busiest day. Not only do we have this traffic, we have our regular 911 traffic, accidents. So Fridays really tests our capacity. But the benefit of that is Fridays, knowing it's our busiest days, is also the day we're staffed as much as we can. So I think, like it said, sometimes there's things that are beyond our control. And as long as we can manage, what we can, the intersections, keeping stuff clear, that's what helps us.
Mr. Maciel, it's really great that you're moving towards alleviating the traffic around that area. I work in that area, so I'm very familiar with all the traffic, all the accidents, even the death that happened a few weeks ago on Killen.
Yes.
And in my experience, it's very hard to find police officers around the area. I know it's difficult to get into that area when that happens, but I would like to know if there's a number or some type of contact that we can call, because by the time people start calling police officers to try to alleviate the traffic, it's too late. They can't get there, they cannot move traffic around, trailers are getting into the, counter traffic, they're just moving in all directions, and it's taking me almost an hour just to get from Sarah to I-35.
Yes, sir. And believe me, I've experienced it also, doing drives and evaluating getting the look on the ground instead of sitting behind a desk. You want to see what your officers are doing. The quickest way is calling our 795-2800, or if it's an emergency, 911.
Right.
The way we're positioned, we have a real-time crime center, which has access to our TxDOT partner cameras, certain cameras, the bridge cameras. What that happens, immediate notification to our field units, start sending resources over there.
And it would be a great idea to actually notify the residents, not just people that live, but that work there. It's very, very difficult when they're gonna close Milo, they're gonna close the access road, they're gonna close or limit Killen, they're gonna close all those roads that get us out of that area, and no one knows about it.
Yes, that was a big point of discussion with TxDOT, is that we're bearing the calls, we're having to make notifications. So in that communication, we've stressed to them, maybe your outlets don't reach what we reach through our social media, et cetera. Use us as that. If you have this, we'll push it out for you. So that discussion is there, and I feel really stronger that it's hopefully getting a lot better. But as far as enforcement and all that, we participate with TxDOT on safety grants. Safety grants on enforcement for seatbelt, distracted driving, intoxicated drivers. One of the other programs that we have is our commercial motor vehicle enforcement. And we don't just pick and choose where we do all those enforcements. There's a data program that we have to, a plan that we have to provide to them. Since we are a data-driven department, that area, Mines Road, is our primary commercial area. So we do have a lot of resources dedicated daily, and some of those details, we average about 10 to 12 a day, or I'm sorry, a week. So you're looking at about 2 to 3 throughout the day in mines up towards Colombia, different things. So we are there, so sometimes it's hard. I wish we could have more, but just rest assured we are there. And just a number to give you as far as the CMV, which we call the enforcement, is in one grant period, which is 1 year, calendar year for TxDOT, we've had over 6,400 citations for commercial vehicle infractions from about 4,200 traffic stops. So we are there making a little bit of a dent on the traffic. But one of the things that we also push is driver responsibility. Nobody likes to take the blame for their own actions sometimes, but we need driver responsibility. It's another thing that TxDOT pushes, driver responsibility. If you can tell your employees, your truck drivers, slow down, abide by the laws, it also reduces a lot of these accidents and violations.
Sir, I know that a few years ago, we had a contingency plan that we were kind of developing and working in conjunction with TxDOT, taking into consideration the Mexican network, Mexican Brokers network is, once there's an outage, they almost have a message out within 10, 15 minutes. U.S. Customs has a 2-hour window, but take into consideration how fast these roads fill up, because everybody's saying they're gonna cross and they wanna be the first in line. They used to, the contingency plan was to allow signage that they would go out there and say, bridge is closed, or, you know, please do not send trucks, or stop it, and especially maybe at that exit on Killam Road, and maybe, have some kind of officers where, when that does happen or that does close down, maybe do that turn, come back, go down Killam, and then come back to I-35, so escort them back to their warehouses, because the line is getting up to H-E-B. I've seen it H-E-B even further, and that's just safety hazard, you know, taking into consideration just getting around there and just limiting the space that we can within our resources. Maybe that's an option. I mean, just reaching outside the block.
So that's one thing, maybe I'll add that to our conversations with TxDOT, maybe keep them in the loop with Bridge, or with, they have some sort of liaison with Mexico as far as the.
Well, the signage is more than anything else. Once those signs come up, just tell the drivers, you can't wait in line, you have to get out once you extend this area, you know, so they can use that exit to get off, and we could just use that as a point of, hey, from here on, we'll just let it go, but the rest of the guys have to come around, go to your warehouse until they know that
Even make it just one way, instead of Milo being 2 ways, or Killam 2 ways, just make them 1 way each one of those. It'll be a lot easier for the traffic to move along.
Yeah.
So back then, council member San Miguel called me that it was a mess with the bicycles in North Central Park, and they were running over people, and they had a lot of complaints. And the word is order. You gotta put order. So all I told him is, look, if you put a bike lane in there, you'll fix the problem. And so he did, never called me again. So I think that's what we have to do in Maestro, put an order, like a route, how to get to the bridge. And it'll help, instead of everybody trying to go in through all the arteries, and it's a mess, and they just stuck, they block all the streets. If there's some type of order, maybe that can fix the problem, or at least intend to.
Going further is probably putting this into a public notice. Like you said, you know, closure, these are your best routes. So that's what we're going forward.
When we would cross through bridge number 2, it was just 35. And so it was an order. I mean, it wasn't a mess. We still had a lot of traffic, but it was only one single shot to the bridge, one single line.
Myself and my staff were cops from last century, so we're familiar with the export lot, with the I-35 lines. We were
One line, one order.
So
that was a
we're very
keyword.
familiar, and so.
Ms. Councilwoman?
Yeah, I just want to kind of talk about this item, because anytime there's a problem at the bridge, I get the blame. I'm the one that is responsible somehow. But, so I listen to what the constituents say, and a lot of people have concerns that there's trucks that try to cut the line, if you will. So the line has been long for, you know, miles or however, and then you have trucks that are trying to get permission to get in, and nobody wants to let them in. So that causes a backup, right? So I guess that's where the idea of saying no other, like, if you want to get in line, you got to go all the way, and this is where the line starts, like kind of policing the line, like, if you will. I guess like in a shopping, like on Black Friday, you know, you kind of have to police like who's going to come in first, because people have been sleeping there for a week, and then you have somebody trying to walk in that just walks through the door, and it's like, hey, it's not fair, you know, you got to get in the back of the line. So I think if we can come up with some kind of system like that, where we establish, like, this is the line and everybody else has to kind of come back from this way. And maybe also with the industry, putting everybody that's on the committee on a text alert thread, so that it goes out to all of them also, so you guys can be notified right away. We were working on trying to improve communication with Mexico. Also, I know they created like a WhatsApp thread with Ms. Limon. Because it seems like communication is always the issue, right? Like, we could always do better. But that might help, but I also wanted to ask the panel, one of the suggestions that residents say is that can't the trucks stay at the warehouse? So who would be in charge of that, and is that a possibility?
Dealing with the Mexican brokers, the network that they have, it's an outreach that goes all the way out because it goes to the forwarders, the US brokers. And they're the ones that would know of it first, because I think we're really mainly talking about southbound because it's on the Mexican side when it goes down.
Correct.
Well, so whenever you call them up, they shoot out a blast and they're very efficient. I mean, we go out and it's like Hormigas, they goes out all over the place. So that would be a good contact.
We do that, and, oh, sorry, Mr. Morris.
The point is that they keep getting in line and they back up forever, knowing that the system is down, it's not gonna be up for a while.
Yeah, but that's what I say, with the message with them telling them, hey, stop the traffic, and they would be the ones controlling it as business owners. As long as they get some kind of information out, and we can go ahead and provide that.
Yes, and we talked about that at the beginning of this committee, when formed, trying to get this issue, and, we do get the email blast, and we do tell everybody, you know, when it gets from one email to the next, to the dispatcher, to the guy at the gate, you know, 20 trucks went out already, and we'll stop it, and actually drivers probably get the idea before us, because they're all talking on their chats before they have the radios or whatever, so there's a big chat of probably 1,000 drivers on a WhatsApp chat, so it gets out fast, but they all want to race to the front of the line, because at the end of the day, you know, I'm gonna stay here and wait, and then when they go out, you know, the line's already, you know, got 800 trucks, so they all want to race to the front, and whenever, they'll rather be sitting there in line. It creates chaos, it creates, you know, risks for emergencies and blockages in the streets. So that's something we had to try to do. As much as we try, it's really, really hard to stop all our trucks and be like, all stop, you know, you can shut down a warehouse, but, you know, it's just a little chaotic to do an all stop. And I'm saying we can't do it, I'm just saying this again, what's the best efficient way to do it? How do we manage it? Or do we send them to a lot something, you know, I'm guessing there's a way, something.
Communication is important. Once they notify you it's down, all the hours that it takes to bring it up, they should at least extend those hours so drivers don't get panicked, because that's really the issue. Am I gonna cross or not? And if Mexican says, we're gonna shut it down, but we're gonna extend the hours that we're down, that helps a lot. They'll notify the drivers, this is the extended hours as well, so they don't panic and they're gonna cross that same day. I think that's what makes it.
I think it's happened before, they extend the hours.
Yvette Limon, for the record, yes, Mr. Dominguez, when this situation occurs, we coordinated immediately with ANAM, I mean, this is for southbound, and we stay open until the last truck crosses. 12, 1, whatever it takes,
As long as
we process.
they inform you so that message goes across, that everybody knows that it's gonna be open till 2:00 in the morning, and they don't panic that they're not gonna cross, and tomorrow they have other trucks pending to cross, and you know what, it just creates everybody's.
I'll coordinate it, I'll continue sending you all emails as soon as I know that the system is down. I email
Yes.
you, committee members, so you can spread the word and make sure that let you all know also that we will extend hours if necessary. I mean, this past Friday, thank God, it was like 9 o'clock or so, and traffic was clear. So once their system comes back up on the Mexican side, they process. But like, you know, we've worked this problem since we started with the committee. They messaged me, what's going on? The bridge is clear. Well, we have a U-turn, so we have to hold the traffic till U-turn the insufficient fund trucks. And then we release the traffic. So at that interval, the bridge span is clear because Mexico is processing quickly to get them out. So we'll continue.
If we could work on a contingency plan with us and with the city as well, like, you know, hey, we get the message, and even possibly do a tabletop.
Definitely.
Where, you know, you notify us, we let us know, we tell our drivers to stop, and then once we get to the thing, work with TxDOT to make sure that, you know, hey, we have a route, an exit route until the system gets going back in place. So, just so we can have something in place take into consideration the safety hazard and all the lines out there. It's just a challenge in itself for the community and as well as the first responders and everything else that's going on, so.
Yeah, we'll definitely do a tabletop or set up a separate meeting. I know JD, Mr. Dominguez, we had a big flow chart with everybody's contact numbers. And we carried it, Mario Maldonado before carried it, I carried it, and when that happened, we would start messaging everybody. But we'll set up a separate meeting and work this out so that we can establish that protocol so that we all know kind of what steps to follow.
So might I just add that we've been focusing a lot on the commercial traffic that gets backed up, but what concerns Ms. Pettis and her constituents and us that live on Mines Road is that there is no option to get home or to get out of home. So maybe when they're backed up, that we actually plan for this route it becomes a non-truck route or non-commercial route so that citizens can actually get to and from where they need to go. Safety, emergency vehicles can get to and from where they need to go. Maybe we can just consider that in some of our planning for the future.
Yes, sir, and that's, Friday specifically, we had a UISD school bus who was caught in all that traffic. So those are the issues, the primary, like we said, the people that live in the area or not only the drivers of the trucks, but yes, sir.
I did talk to Chief Trevino, and he mentioned that back in the day when I-35 used to back up, you all had like a ticket system or something. He mentioned possibly relooking at that. I think whatever we can do, at least to show that we're trying to handle it, but definitely with the communication should help, and we can talk about this again, I guess, at our next meeting too.
Yvette, just a quick motion right now, because take consideration of time, I'll make a motion of 30 minutes more to extend our meeting.
Sure.
Second.
I just want to make an additional comment on that. We talked about, this is Jason, with TxDOT looking at possible truck parking facilities and having this as a staging area when the bridge shuts down, letting people go and park at a facility, and then possibly incorporating that ticketing system where they say, hey, look, you've got in this lot, and now you can be some of the first to go. That's something that we're exploring a little bit, but we definitely want the industry's input, and we've talked to we need it to be a public-private partnership. When I was in the private sector, we tried doing this, it's a little overhead expensive, and people don't want to run that operation. But in the light of things, the city and the community needs something like this, and so TxDOT is pushing hard on their truck parking facilities across the state, and so it would be a perfect opportunity. I always tell them, use Laredo as a test bed. Let it be one of your examples, because we have the need, and there's a land around it. And so I'm an urban planning background, and when we talk about this area, we're literally choking out our bridge, and so the decisions that are made on everyday actions on zoning and development will impact the way we proceed. So if we don't have a truck parking facility and we continue to develop out those areas, we're just going to continue to squeeze. And so keeping that in mind is you have a truck parking facility, ITS, information travel signs go up and say bridge is shut down, go to your nearest parking, and then we'll stage you from there. It's something I know y'all been working with TxDOT a little bit, but on the back end of there, we're saying, how do we put this together, right? And so we need a P3. At least that's what we've been exploring, but something to keep in mind.
Thank you, Jason. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, any other discussion on this item? No. If not, we'll go to item number 4. Discussion regarding developing a private-public freight cargo airport utilizing the 1,500-acre located at mile marker 13 for future development and any other matters incident 32.
Mr. Chairman, Steve Landine for the record, Assistant City Manager again. This particular item was brought before the council by Dr. Councilman Marte Martinez. And the council discussed this item, and the outcome of this item was for staff to place developing this future cargo airport on those 1,500 acres, and they even got into potentially other potential locations. So to place it on our CIP for the city unfunded, to begin our master plan discussions related to the airport. So we're adding it as a study, adding it for them to study it as part of the scope of work for our cargo consultant. And then to potentially look for additional partners, because there could be private sector partners out there that might be interested in partnering with the city, and to incorporate it into our major thoroughfare plan, and also to bring it to y'all so y'all can be aware of this and to see what kind of input you want to offer to it. This is planting the seed. And so ultimately, this is something that will be done past our time of service, obviously, but at least that we're at least talking about it and being visionary for the future, that it's something that's going to be discussed and studied.
Thank you, Chief.
So there's gonna be a study, but you don't want input from us?
Oh,
yeah.
I asked for
There you
input.
go.
I did ask for input.
What's the estimated
Not now, we
expenses?
said it, but we're gonna study, like, together with study, we don't have the information on the current airport.
Can you ask what the estimated study will be costing? What they're anticipating the cost in that, or they're allotting for that?
We currently have some cargo consultants hired by the city, so we were gonna ask them to expand their scope of the study and to start studying the possibility to place it. And we're putting it on our CIP to present to council next year as an unfunded project. And then the discussions are already started. We're discussing it here tonight with you, and we look forward to many more discussions with you.
Taking into consideration the funds, would it be coming out of the general funds, or would it be coming the airport funds? This would be an airport project that they're
This is
working on.
gonna be an airport project, and the airport is an enterprise fund. And any funding and discussions related to expanding the current footprint of our airport or potentially another airport would have to come from an enterprise. We're thinking from that enterprise fund of the airport. And we'll see where we end up with it. The property is there right now. The reason that property's been identified is because it's owned by the city of Laredo, those 1,500 acres. And so the discussion was just a lot of ideas being thrown out by council. Staff was just writing it down, listening, and we're bringing it to you all so that you all know that this discussion is starting, and we welcome your input.
I guess a good start would be to be involved in any of the workshops or meetings that take place, when you start collecting the data or presenting the data to the staff or these consultants start coming in. At the end of the day, I think that's when we're gonna be able to give more input or really see what's going on. We need to see what the current stats of the airport are and what are the forecasts for the next 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 years or whatnot.
I'd like to make a motion to do a subcommittee, no more than 4 members because it's a quorum, to start talking about that and discussing among that subcommittee so that they can talk to city staff and what the purpose and, I mean, whatever.
And for the purposes of this committee, you know, as you see me show up, I'm gonna be your point of contact for this committee.
Awesome.
And I'll report to the city manager. I do oversee the bridges. I work in partnership with Yvette, so wherever she wants to pull me, I'm gonna just be pulled by her. And the same way, we're working together, the same with the airport director. I oversee that area as well, and so ultimately, this is a good discussion. So I'll be your point of contact, or you can talk directly to the airport director. I'm not possessive of that. As a matter of fact, I encourage discussion.
You know what, and I'll second Arturo's motion, but being part of the airport advisory committee,
You
I
need
see
the
the
committee.
funding on that. And I know that, that's why I'm concerned of where the fund's gonna come from and take consideration how detailed it is. I just wanna make sure that, you know, we move in the right direction. Obviously, I don't wanna hold back progress, but at the same time, you wanna take consideration everything that's already developed out there and moving an airport somewhere else, and then you start talking about the noise abatement and all that. There's a lot of details involved, and my concern is, you know, I don't know if it's a project.
not-
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Like I said, I don't know whether it's a project that's being implemented due to a favor, or if it's just a good business practice.
Well, there's already a committee for the airport. No, I understand. There's a committee at the airport, and you want to form a subcommittee?
From this group, from this.
That's a project.
Just to talk and discuss and sit, as long as it's 4 or less people, and you can name,
I think this is a great robust discussion, and that's why I sit there and second that, because keep it small, keep it simple, and make sure that we have good input coming from the group that's in this group.
I like that, and if I may, Mr. Chairman, The discussions are, at this point, it's just a possibility, it's planting the seed. It's not intended to remove cargo from the Laredo International Airport. It's intended, at this point, of what I'm understanding, to create a cargo. A passenger will stay at the international airport with the infrastructure that's in place and all the money that was developed and put in there. But there's just so many ideas right now, we just need to let the experts kind of sift through it, and then, of course, with you all's input. And, well, you're on both committees, so it's.
In my humble opinion, it's underutilized right now, the current airport, and I just feel there'll be competition and we use the money wisely, more infrastructure for the bridges. That's my humble opinion.
Well, we're talking about something 15, 20, 30, 40 years, so there's no harm in getting a study, so I like that idea. Nobody's voting in favor of it or not, is doing the study and seeing what's next. So that's why we have to have forward thinkers, and if it doesn't work, it doesn't work, and you turn the page. But there is have to be a lot of participation with the community involved, and as long as there's big, open, and transparent participation that lets everybody be involved and bring some good experts, and it's just supervised well, I think it shouldn't be a problem.
Might I suggest that when we're doing these things, I agree we need to look towards the future, but I don't want to see us taking money from, that we don't have for infrastructure to do studies for something that's a personal interest, most likely. So, you know, the really idea is that we're struggling to get money for infrastructure to support issues on Mines Road and all the other stuff that we're talking about, and then to put in that money that we could be using to do a study for something else. It just seems like, now if it's coming from the airport funds already and it's gonna be an extension of the airport, then I would say that'd probably be a good idea to follow, but that's just my personal opinion.
All right, Mr.
Yeah, so there's a motion and a second, normally followed by some discussion before we vote. I'd like to make myself available for the subcommittee if you so choose. I saw the city council meeting and the discussion that Councilman Dr. Marte brought up, and it doesn't sound like it's a favor. It sounds like he made the comment that 20 years from now, we don't want to be kicking ourselves saying we should have done this 20 years ago. In a lot of the cargo traffic on both sides of the runway, on the old terminal side and the new terminal side where FedEx and is not really designed for heavy traffic. So it's a long-term proposal. And I think messaging is important. You know, this could end up in KGNS or the Laredo Morning Times that the Port of Entry Advisory Committee, City Council, and City Management is looking to replace cargo at the Laredo International Airport. And that's not the message. That's not this is a potential long-term project. The other thing that was brought up that I like, that Dr. Marte brought up, was that potentially this could be fully funded, or at least a joint venture with private endeavor. So I would envision maybe an RFI, right? And see if Amazon or somebody wants to build the whole thing.
That's right.
And there are some other cities and communities that have been very successful in building industrial parks around a private airport.
So now that we're making comments, I'd like to make my comment. So back in the 80s, we could land any airplane at our airport, but once you would fill it up, we didn't have enough runway. So they put millions of dollars, I don't know, the director of the airport is not here, but they put millions of dollars in that runway. So if you would ask me, I would put an airport that is just for commercial traffic, not for cargo. Keep this one for cargo and put a new airport somewhere else. That would be my opinion, because of all the money that has been invested in those runways for cargo.
And the reason I brought up the
It's
point
just
about, I'm sorry to interrupt. The point about messaging is that we don't want to put at risk any of the funds that we continue to get from our congressmen, right? And we wouldn't want to put any future earmarks, let's say, or infrastructure bills at risk for the next 3 to 5 to 10 years, right? And so that the messaging is important.
So we'll vote for the subcommittee?
One more.
It's already passing.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm getting past my time, but you know, we'll discuss it afterwards for the sake of time.
Subcommittee for discussion.
Yeah.
So, all in favor?
For the customer.
Aye for the subcommittee. Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. So motion passes to create a subcommittee for the overseeing the airport to get some discussions rolling. Thank you very much, and thank you, Chief Landine, for the update on this point, and everybody with the discussion. Number 5, discussion with possible action to recommend City Council to appropriate the $10 million to Vallecillo Road that was never allotted to the fast lane from the total increase per axle on commercial traffic September 5, 2017, and any other matter incident there too.
At this time, I would like to table it because there's already money for Vallecillo, so we
In the
can.
past month, there's money allocated to
A
the
lot of
project,
changes
so.
have been done in this past 30 days, so.
Yeah.
I like to table it and.
Second.
All in favor? Aye, perfect. Ms. Yvette, you want to come?
I still provided you have a copy of the resolution of the flow of funds, so you have an understanding of how the bridge revenue is appropriate.
Thank you very much, Ms. Yvette.
Thank you.
Item number 6, discussion regarding the City of Laredo oversized, overweight ordinance and any other matters incident thereto. I would like to pass, give some brief information to either Mr. Brida or Mr. Dominguez on what the item actually is, which I think it's a real big opportunity for the City of Laredo, big moneymaker as well for the city, as well for our users, for our logistics users as well. So,
Correct. Mr. Prida, this is an item discussed at the previous committee meeting, and Mr. Prida asked to kind of bring it back for this meeting with a follow-up, and I provided you all a copy of the current ordinance for your review. I know staff is also currently reviewing it. Since I've been at the bridge, it hasn't been updated. It is, I guess, an ordinance that was established when the bridge was under the transportation umbrella, and it was traffic safety and bridge. So we are currently reviewing it. I ask that you as well, the industry, you all have to obtain the permits. You all are the ones that have the crossings. So I ask that you review it as well, and then we can regroup with reviewing it, or you can provide us your comments and kind of take all that into consideration, should we have to update the ordinance.
Can I share some information that I got from Hidalgo Port? So this is, I don't know how to. This is just
yeah.
Okay, so, good evening, everyone. So I got this information on the page of Hidalgo Port. This is how they are handling the overweight. We have been visiting some of our members, and most of them say that we're missing on this opportunity, on this business, and the other ports are taking over this important business. So we have to start working. In other ports, like in Hidalgo and now El Paso, they're going up to 125,000 pounds. Not most of them, but maybe if you can just put 2 more pallets, it will help a lot just to be competitive into this. Here's a review of the activities in Hidalgo. So these are the permits that they have been going on. So issue for these permits, as you can see, each year it's growing more and more. Now they're talking about 36,000 permits, 31,000 permits for 21. And these permits, on 21, it generated $6,280,000 for just the permits in Hidalgo. And that's a $200 permit. By the years, they have, I think here it's on the.
Okay, yeah, since 2014, it says
Yeah,
28 million. Right?
Since they started the program, they have generated $29 million.
So what's the difference that we do here in Laredo that they do? 'Cause we do cross over limit, you don't have a way to get a permit? Or what is the difference that they do and we don't do?
It's, all the permit, it's like real slow. You have to get the license, the plates.
The process is way
The
slower.
process, it's very, very hard here. And especially, it can take maybe a day to get the permit, a day or 2 days, just to get that permit. And here it's online. You can go online, you can create the account, and you will pay, and it's like that.
A $200 permit?
Yeah, it says here, right here, it's a $200 permit. And so far, as you can see, it's $28 million.
Yeah. And just to be clear, I think it says a lot of the, big portion of it goes to TxDOT because they have to maintain the streets. But still, just in 2021, from January to October 31st of 2021, they did generate 6.2 million. 94,000 goes to the Pro Miles, which is the system provider. I guess they charge a fee for every permit, the online system. And then 850 million goes to the HCRMA, which is a local,
The local authority.
the local authority
Yes.
so that's kind of what a big, so the city of Laredo would take, that says $800,000, and of course, the other 5 million will go back to
It's like
TxDOT,
DOT for the roads.
which is at the end of the day, they have to build the roads. So it's still pretty much chuck and change, an extra $1 million, and that's FAR, which supposedly does, 20% less volume than us, so that's definitely
Plus
something.
the 30, for example, here, plus the 31,000 additional cross that the bridge will have. Speaking of, also, you're paying the permit plus the crossing. So it's a
Well,
a
remember that
double
one
income
of
to
the
the
permits will be
city.
northbound or southbound as well,
Southbound. We're trying to go southbound, well, both ways.
okay? So this is permits for north and southbound traffic,
Yes.
the
No, I think
31,000
they-
permits.
And they have the routes established and everything. So I think it's important to look into this because we're losing competitiveness and we have to work on this. So if we stay like this, more cargo is going to be going away from Laredo.
Our system is antiquated, no?
Hmm?
Our system is antiquated.
Our system is antiquated. Other ports are doing that. El Paso now, I think El Paso, they just established this new method. I haven't gotten the information on El Paso, but they are moving quick and they are taking our business.
And I
These
think
are
it goes up to 100,000 pounds, which won't be our case. What we want to do is increase it,
1-2 pallets.
8,000 pounds more. That's the maximum actually allowed in a truck. So it's not that we're going 100,000, and we're not going to lose one more truck. Yeah, exactly. But what I'm saying is, you're not going to have you can't put in $80,000 in a normal truck. Flatbeds and everything were different, but the day-to-day will be, add 2, 3, 4, 5,000 pounds more on one shipment, so. Mr. Norman, you have a comment?
Thank you.
Currently, with our ordinance, any truck weighing over 80,000 pounds must obtain a permit. So we do have customers that obtain permits. And yes, it's online. They upload their bill of lading, they upload the picture of the truck, and we process it. They pay online and they cross. When we started the online process, we started with one company until they got a hang of it. From time to time, we do see some companies that obtain a permit and their weights are inaccurate. We do verify. Once they get to the bridge, we have a static scale at both Columbia and World Trade. We do verify the weights, and if the weights do not match to what the permit has, that permit is void per the ordinance. And then we impose the $500 penalty fee for being overweight and the weight on the permit being inaccurate. So that's what we currently do now.
So the permit is given by the weight, or it's just?
Based on the weight.
A flat fee for overweight?
No, it's based on the weight.
Here's this little structure from 80 to 100,000, 120 is 160
It's less than over there, it looks like.
But, so, this is from, right now you do it from northbound or southbound? Or
Southbound.
southbound only, northbound, there's no,
We're not enforcing it
we're not enforcing
northbound
it?
because we do not have, that's where the Way in Motion project that Mr. Milky talked about earlier, we are gonna install Way in Motion scales at the current exit booths at the port of entry to start verifying the weight on northbound shipments.
Okay, and so once we have that, we can also offer that service pre-sort. Right now, you don't have a weight on your system,
Right.
but they could get stopped by DOT and then they're gonna
Correct.
get fined.
Correct,
Oh, yes, yes, what I'm
correct,
saying is,
yes.
they're risking, with the bridge, you don't charge them anything. If
Not
they
for
get-
northbound.
If they get stopped by DOT, it doesn't go back to the Laredo Bridge system, fine them. If they cross, they cross.
Right.
Southbound, since we do have a weight in motion, we do get to fine them if they don't have a permit.
Yes.
And then also they got that ability.
Yes.
So I guess northbound would definitely be, because Mexico, the weight restriction is higher in all of Mexico, so that'll be a big boom for the Mexican customers moving freight, adding, 6,000 more pounds per trailer. And of course, the customers that move 15, 20, 30, 40 trailers a day, that's gonna be very helpful.
So once the project is completed and we get ready to enforce the ordinance, that this is where these changes need to take place so that we can update the ordinance and be ready for when we start issuing permits for northbound shipments.
So, let's plug and play, Gonzalo, maybe we could just plug and play, get a permit from over there, get a permit here, and see how fast or how bad. If we have that availability, and our system is working, probably the one thing is take a picture of the load, I don't know how long that gets delayed or not, but, and then from there, probably come back with stronger comments on saying, this is the difference on the system over there, we do it in 10 minutes, and here it takes us 3 hours.
Yeah.
Or maybe it is fast enough, I don't know, but we could probably do something like that and see if it's our system that we use here in Laredo that's slower or has more steps, that we could probably go back to the city of Laredo and try to.
Sure, I appreciate your feedback and definitely wherever we can improve, we'll improve to make it easier for you all and to cross your merchandise, and we understand time is money. So.
No, yes, but the problem here is that, for example, if we load the trailer, we don't know which truck is gonna take it southbound. So, because we just call any company to get the cargo going into Mexico, by the end of the day, about 6, 7 o'clock, that the trucks appear, I don't know the license plate, I don't know the driver, I don't know nothing. I just know that I overweight, and it's gonna cost $500, and sometimes they claim to say, just take it. Just process it. Also, because it's gonna be cheaper to send another, especially for those Boca Refineria, it's going all the way down there. You have paint, you have many issues, many cargo, and I think we're getting, we have to establish some mechanism. For example, what's the cost for a normal, to say you're taking 4,000 more?
It's $160.
Yeah,
It's on here.
it's on the ordinance.
It's already here, $160 for up to 40,000 pounds more, from 0 to 40,000.
I think it's just to get it more expedite, more easy to the
Yeah, maybe there's
customer.
information right there that.
For us, if we can have something that just pay and go, I think we can, it will be great for our
We can
clients.
coordinate with you, Mr. Prida, and expedite it and get you or your staff. Just let me know and we'll work with you to make sure we can expedite the permit
We have
process
received many
quicker.
calls, yes, of our members, and they are looking into this.
I have a question. So, we don't have a policy where you can pay the additional fee? Are you saying that it's difficult to coordinate through the AVI, like paying in advance? Or are you saying that it would be helpful to be able to pay there? Or what is it that we're not doing, that we could be doing, but not just for certain people, but like just as a practice? Like,
Yes,
what is it that we
It
need?
looks like the form of how to apply for a permit, to pay the $160 for extra beforehand. All the information the current system asks for, it takes us a long time, like a warehouse personnel, to fill it out and get the permit approved. While comparing it to FAR, it's plug and play, probably just 2-3 days, and you get the permit really easy. So that's what we could figure that out. We could plug and play with both systems, the the FAR one and the Laredo one, and see what the differences are, and see if there's some information on the current application online that makes it harder for us. Like, if they're asking for the trailer that's gonna cross it, for the actual, not the trailer number, the tractor, if they're asking for the tractor at 9 AM and want to apply for it, we don't know what tractor's gonna cross it at 2 PM.
So would it be, I mean, if Mr. Prida's saying that it's easier over there, then is there a way that we can ask what they do over there and adopt those policies? Because
Yes.
it would take too long to compare, I think, from one to the other. If we already know that it's easier over there, then let's just see.
Well, that's what we're saying.
Yeah.
We'll do an example on their system, and then on
Yeah.
us, and then just check how long it takes.
Yes.
And then from there, bring,
I
compare.
have here, I have a truck ready, pay the fee, online, vámonos.
Because that, you know, that concerns me, that you hear a lot of the feedback for Laredo that we, you know, we make it difficult to get permits and everything takes so long, and, you know, to hear that it's happening in this industry also is concerning, because then we are gonna lose business, and
We are
if we're
losing
not
business.
staying, we are losing business.
Losing business.
So, and then another concern I had with the weigh in motion scales, my understanding is though, that project was supposed to have been done in 2017, right? And now it's still unfunded, so we have money just sitting on the table here.
Right, we did have the funding for that project, and during this budget process, it was decided that we would sell a bond to fund that project. So that's what was presented to council. And we'll, as soon as the design is ready, as soon as the funding is, available, then we will move forward with this project. I know, SEA, Structural and Engineering Associates, is also working on this project. They did prioritize the fast lane and the expansion, and delayed it somewhat, but they have the plans and specifications ready. So as soon as we get the funding, we'll move forward.
Well, my concern is that we had a finalizing date of 2017, and we're 5 years later, so 5 years of not being able to collect overweights. I mean, if we were missing $10 million, we probably lost $50 million in the past 5 years, and that's concerning because, you know, these investments that we make to help the industry and to stay competitive, it's like if we're not making them and we're not making them quickly, because for me, what I understood when I came in a year and a half ago was that everything was just kind of like behind, and so now we're still more behind, and I just think that we need to make that a priority, and I think the industry is also saying that.
My concern with those scales, that was DPS was up there because they were weighing those trucks, and you had to go through a bottleneck there. And so my understanding was that when the city would put those weigh-in motions, they would remove that scale. And that was very, very good for us, for the flow of traffic. But not being there, I'm concerned that they're gonna go back to their little chute and little scale. It's just gonna cost a lot of.
Do you know what the cost is for those movie scales, what the approximate cost that was?
Yes, we had a budget of 4.5 million for this project, so, we're ready to move forward. Once we, identify the funding or sell the bond, then we'll move forward.
We can probably put it in concession to a private sector and get that.
No.
We have the license agreement with GSA to be able to install or to, do the construction project at the port of entry, because it's inside the compound, the port of entry, so.
You said earlier in the conversation that you're just waiting for the construction, so it's already planned, it's just waiting for the
We're
final
just-
construction.
For the
and
final
they should
money,
be on
so
the-
that we can start the construction.
Yeah, I'm guessing it's not all that money that's collected, there's some sort that has to be separated to.
TechStop
TechStop,
gets that,
I don't know,
and
is it
the
10,
bridge
15,
system,
20%?
and a lot of that goes to the general fund. And this is where my concern is, since it's overweight, I've been at Torreon where I've been doing a lot of recon on some of my clients, and those trucks, they have a lot of tonnage because of the stone that they use, and their roads are terrible. And that's what I'm hoping that we can get some funds allotted, not to general fund, but to repair the streets.
Right.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
That was the comment I was just gonna make, is that I don't know if the infrastructure is adequate enough to have that overweight corridor. We talked about a Char Road being built to those standards. I believe sections of I-35 are not for that standard.
Well, it's 'cause one thing is that people that are going overweight, they're going overweight. Right now, and they're risking it, paying the $500 to, because that's what tax passes, so they are using overweight. And it's usually, you know, the 80, the 100, 200,000 overweight with flatbed and everything. Well, yeah, they'll pay for that and they'll get a special permit with TxDOT beforehand, so they won't get, but on a dry van, they're probably putting 4,000 or 5,000 pounds. They're not creating a bigger problem. So it is happening, it's just the city's not getting.
Their
benefit.
revenue.
And when they get ticketed, $500 goes straight to TxDOT. If we do, hey, we'll charge 200 and we'll stay with 40 and TxDOT 160 or whatever the one is, you know, that's kind of what we could do. And maybe it's a long process. Talk to TxDOT, what's actually the rated weight? Maybe right now it's open from 80,000 to 120,000, so you're adding 40,000 pounds more. That's a lot. Maybe 10,000 pounds. And that's the 4 pallets or 3 pallets that we're talking about. And maybe TxDOT says, oh, you know, 10,000, 6,000 pounds average more on the roads. We're totally good. I don't know. We have to invite more people to the party, but.
In a perfect world, you would do your application, and when you print, it tells you the route that you're gonna take. And like something like the hazmat route, I mean, that you're gonna damage certain roads and that's it, you're not
Yeah,
gonna
it's
damage.
controlled, kind of, yeah.
Not even damage, you ever try to do cement so you don't damage those roads.
Mr. Morris?
TxDOT,
I just want to make a point that a lot of the overweight things that they're talking about crossing are not going on the highways in most cases. They're going to the local places to be distributed from there. And I'm not sure if they're talking about doing, for the northbound stuff, it's doing those 2 pups that come together with, so that they're really 3 trailers in 2. But the thing is, they're legal in Mexico, and and I noticed on the verbiage for the McAllen thing, or that it says the weights that are legal in Mexico, and it lists 125,000 pounds or something for the gross vehicle weight. Maybe we can model our stuff after that, so that we can do that, because they're not going on the main highways. I agree that if they're super heavy, we're going over asphalt, and we're gonna destroy our roads, and we don't wanna have that happen either. But there's another, that goes back to infrastructure, which is another point. That we need to develop infrastructure to handle the business that we want to come through here.
yeah, and I know TxDOT is currently working on a overweight, oversized corridor study. They reached out to me and we met with them and they asked us questions if the city had a overweight, oversized corridor. And so they're working on a study for oversized, overweight.
The Char and the Vallecillo are for overweight cargo.
The design right now, that's what they're
It's
designing.
designed for that, and the cost of it is like 33% more than a regular street, so it's not like 100%, it's like 33%
But you
extra.
can fund all that with these permits.
Absolutely, yeah.
For maintenance as well.
For maintenance.
I'm gonna make another motion because we're running out of time again I know we're at the end of, another 30 minutes.
They removed their clock.
Another 30 minutes, anybody second?
Second? Favor. Thank you. Motion passes. Moving on to item number 7. Quick discussion and update just regarding on the insufficient funds.
Yeah, Mr. Kent Richard will present and accompanied by our bridge marketing manager, Ms. Alma Cruz, regarding the survey that was asked from us from the last meeting.
Okay.
Good evening, once again. Just kind of let you know, World Trade Bridge in June, we had already presented 332 U-turns. July went down to 317, and then just now in August, we went up to 352 U-turns. Since we've imposed the penalty back in mid-April, we've collected $67,000 now on penalties for no funds, insufficient funds, U-turning. So, and Columbia as well, they're still hovering right around 20, 25 trucks U-turn a month. And over there, we've collected 4,300 trucks since April. So our main concern, as everybody knows, is World Trade Bridge. So I just kind of wanted to give you a quick update on what August looked like. It entailed 239 accounts. And of those 239 accounts, 178 accounts were just a single U-turn. So we're seeing more customers with just one U-turn. But for the month, you know, we've had a total of 352 that took place here in August.
Okay. Well, so we still got a couple of repeats then for two and three times. There's a couple of 20, 30 accounts,
Yes.
22 times.
We had 39 accounts that had 2 U-turns. We had 10 accounts that had 3. 3 accounts had 4. 4 accounts had 5 U-turns. 4 accounts had 6 U-turns. 1 account had 10 U-turns.
Come on, pick up the phone, Ken. Pick up the phone. Tell us what it is. We'll help you. Tell us what it is.
Ms. Alma Cruz will elaborate a little bit more on some of our different game plans we
You know,
got going on.
that guy's crossing every single day, but you got 10 units, so he's got to be somebody on the, we can really call up and say, hey, man.
The network.
It's somebody on the network. We can really help out. But anyhow.
Can we do a wall of shame?
Well, you don't have to want to shame it. We're in the industry. We know, we're, hey, a private call. We don't have to publicize it.
La raza will shame him.
But, yeah, I know, that's a guy that's in business and he's moving trucks every single day. So, but anyhow,
All right.
okay, thank you, Ken, we appreciate it.
Well, good evening, members of the committee. For the record, Alma Cruz, I'm the City of Laredo Bridge System Marketing Manager. As per last meeting from this committee, a survey was requested that will be conducted in World Trade Bridge and Columbia Solidarity Bridge to collect information regarding the U-turns. The time frame that we're proposing is October 1st to December 31st of this year, which is our busiest quarter. For a little bit of context, collectors will see the no funds on their screen. At that moment, while they are calling the supervisor, we're gonna hand over a very easy 4-question, mostly yes or no answers. You can see it on the 3rd page. It's gonna be provided in English, both English and Spanish. You can go through the questions if you would like. Very simple, it's just to know the relationship of the driver with the ABI tag, and then if they knew that they were lacking funds and so on and so forth. We were also able to pull information from our system, TransCore. We determined that we have over 5,000 email accounts. So in order to support this survey during the same time frame, what we're gonna conduct is what we call e-blasts, educational e-blasts. We're gonna send it to all 5,000 users throughout the entire 3-month period, where we're gonna give information regarding hours of operation, payment options, how to auto-replenish, online payment, telephone payment, how to do it in person and avoid penalty fees, right? This with the purpose of being able to decrease the amount of U-turns that we're seeing. Again, before this campaign starts, we're gonna pull reports, we're gonna see what is our numbers regarding U-turns, and we're gonna do the same report towards the end. Besides doing the same report, we're also gonna check on those e-blasts. You're talking about open rate, click to action, because we can include click on the email and redirect to the Laredo Trade Tag page, and we're gonna see how many bounce emails we had as well. In order to be able to see the results, right, and see if the efforts are yielding any results. You can see in the 6th page, more or less, initial concept of what that email will look like. It's the same information that I provided right now, which is giving the information options of how to make those payments. Now, I know that we also discussed in last meeting, increasing the client base for the ABI non-commercials. We have considered a time frame of 6 months in this case, from November 1st to April 30th. Of course, Trends Bridge System has over 9,800 non-commercial ABI accounts recorded. 60.7% of those crossings use cash as payment method. During the month of August, we saw 383,054 crossings, out of which over 123,000 were through ABI lane. Our peak hours are from 4 to 7. Our primary target for this campaign will be Laredo, Texas locals and Nuevo Laredo sister city commuters. Our secondary, yes, it's,
Okay. Yeah, this is committee members, she's talking about item number 8 on the agenda.
Yes, sorry, I'm sorry, I forgot to bring it up. Okay, my bad. But, we did finish item number 7, now we're number 8. Thank you, Ms. Moore.
Our secondary audience will be tourism leisure. We're gonna receive support from CBB and Casa Laredo in Monterrey. Our product, you all know it well, is the AVI TAC, Transporter-Based Automatically Vehicle Identification System. I don't wanna go through everything, you have it on hand. I did a quick SWOT analysis, some strategies. We are considering communication and promotion through Facebook. We have several pages within the city of Laredo that has a very large, vast following page, base followers. We have LinkedIn, we have billboards that are in Kindness per Lease with the city of Laredo that we can utilize. And we can also go into mailing, home to home, radio, communication, and so on and so forth. In order to also know what results yielded this campaign, we can also pull reports. We can know how much did it increase our AVI users. And you can see in page 11, again, initial concept of what could potentially look a campaign that will be performed during this period for social media, for billboards, and any publication that we can put it on.
Great.
Ms. Cruz, I'm sorry. Sorry if I missed it. Is it also available to give a little piece of paper to the cash crossers?
Well, we actually if you're talking about commercial,
No, I'm talking about the
non-commercial, I think that yes, that we have the option to provide the same information to our cash because we're, of course, giving a ticket, right? We're giving a receipt.
Does it say
so-
what 50 cents a crossing is?
Yes, correct.
Well, this is really good information. Thank you very much. And of course, the campaign looks good. The numbers, yeah, so we have our KPI right here, 123,000 in August. So from there, what we're gonna do is pick it up, and we're gonna measure it the next 3 or 6 months. So that's a great way to just measure that every month. Again, remember that pretty much everybody crossing the bridge, going to Mexico, probably 80% of them are Mexicans, they speak Spanish. So just some marketing material in Spanish and kind of something that catches their eye, the Mexican eye, something, I'm gonna go see what products out there catch the Mexican eye really quick and put it out there. And they can easily click or find a quick website or tell them, cruce rápido, no fila, something. But this is a really good start. So I think you're heading the right way. I think it's gonna help and we'll definitely, re-forward them or like them when they're on the city page or on LinkedIn or Facebook, just to get it to our friends in Monterrey and Mexico, wherever.
I have a question.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I have a question. The mailer, the Everyday Direct Mail mailer, why would we want to send that? I'm just curious because, I think it would be faster to go through you said that there's a WhatsApp for all the drivers. Probably better to get on that WhatsApp and blast it to them since they're the direct end user versus sending a direct mailer just to everybody on the mailing route, whereas you don't know how many it would apply to. It seems like the mailer doesn't really fit the campaign for me.
You're talking about on the commercial?
Non-commercial.
On non-commercial, there's,
It's not commercial because commercial is 100% AVI.
yeah, commercial, they're gonna give them the survey when they're there, when they have to do the U-turn, right?
Oh, that's for commercial. This
Yeah, that's for
thing
commercial.
for commercial. What Councilwoman Perez is referring to is the mailer option, which I included just as an option of how to target the audience, and this is for non-commercial.
Because what I'm saying is, you're gonna hit every household on a mail, but how many of those households would it actually apply to? And then the ones that it applies to, are they even gonna pay attention? Whereas we can hit them more directly with these other channels.
No, what I was talking about, the WhatsApp is for commercial users, it's for the drivers.
Put it on the bridge.
So the pamphlets on the bridge, which Gene said, I think that's better than the mailers. You are gonna need 380,000
Definitely hand it out.
flyers for a month.
Well, that Gene's idea actually substitutes the mailer.
Yes, that, exactly, yeah.
As they issue the receipt after they pay their toll, we can provide them with the information so they can.
And just a couple of comments. by increasing the actual pool of people that will use the AVI, we get the risk, of course, of them not having funds and causing U-turns out of the bridge.
Might not be something we should
Well,
cover on.
That's something that could happen, right? So
Well, yeah.
getting
cone
them
right
to
there.
be aware of the replenishment, just adding that there is like open the AVI and choose replenishment. Since we cannot do that as a mandatory item, just request them to do that, approve it for non-commercial vehicles. And also, once we get all this traffic going, are we increasing the fines for these, let's say, 10 U-turns from the same account? Are we charging the same? Are we adding more money to that? Because if we increase the funds that we need to charge them or the fine for the second, third, fourth, fifth time, they'll think about it a little bit more. If we can send them an email when their account is low, to the emails that we have as an email blast, that'll also help. Hey, it's low, it's yellow, we can just send a blast and telling them, hey, you have less funds that you need for next crossing. Something like that, that'll make them aware of this before they get there. And also, if, well, they don't pay attention, well, how about increasing the fine? Twice, 3 times as much as we're charging them now?
On the
Okay,
reoccurring.
currently,
Recurring ones.
currently, the ordinance, on the fine for the insufficient funds is only for the commercial because it interrupts the flow of
Oh, yeah, yeah,
commerce.
for commercial.
On the non-commercial side, there is no penalty fee.
I understand. And
So
that
we
also
will
could
back
be
to the
a big
previous
deal.
follow that same process to make sure they're aware of their balance, to avoid causing
When you replenish,
traffic
you
issues
get the
also
replenishment
at.
email, so before you get that replenishment, if you haven't chosen that option, hey, your account is low. If you're not gonna replenish, don't use AVI, because you're gonna cause a problem at the bridge.
I have a question. Does our system automatically allow settings like what Mr. Minor's saying is where if they hit a certain like amount, it automatically sends them like warning your funds are low? Because increasing the AVI enrollees isn't really gonna tackle the not having enough money because you aren't keeping track of your account, right? So it's kind of like we're not, like the campaign's not gonna help solve that problem. So I think having a setting on the program, and if our program isn't capable, maybe we can change programs, or there is a program that can do that automatically, so you all don't have to be babysitting the system, and it would automatically send the alert. But then also, maybe we are kind of requiring excessive paperwork on our end versus what other ports are doing. So maybe we can look at our system, and if we need to go with a different vendor or, change the settings or whatever. I think investing in something that makes it more user-friendly is gonna pay off, because maybe it's easier for them to block traffic for 20 minutes than to go figure out the system and all the paperwork it requires every time.
Our system does inform the account holders and the drivers as well when they get to the toll booth on the commercial side. If there's not enough funds, we have like a street traffic light, the green, the yellow, the red, and if it shows yellow, then the driver knows that the account is low in funds. But if the driver doesn't communicate it to the account holder, then the account holder doesn't know. But it does advise the account holder, whoever they assign as the account manager. Sometimes they have their office staff that monitors their accounts.
But by the time they get to the bridge and people are busy, right? So they're gonna get an alert and they're busy. I'm talking like advance notice, like, hey, your account is at, 60%, or you're at this amount or whatever. Like, I know that you said they can put the settings, but what if we initiate like our own settings to say, if your account has less than $100 in it, you're gonna get an email right away. And you can send them an email every day or something.
The crossings, and we can set those
Something
emails
like that might be helpful.
Yeah, one of our first proposals was to make an app for the bridge, for the drivers. I think we need to move into making an app for all these drivers, have your balance and everything there. That's one of my suggestions. Now that we have the money that we have been made of the U-turn, I think with that money we can take it and develop the app. And second, and most important, I think we have to look into payment in Mexico to add funds. in OXXO, because OXXO, it's everywhere, it's open 24 hours, so, because maybe the driver doesn't have money right now at that moment, or he knows he's on a yellow. Hey, oye, va, ponle lana. O sea, we need something to move fast and on the Mexican side. O sea, maybe.
They can do it online. As far as paying in Mexico, I mean, that would be something that we would need to discuss with legal and everybody, because there are two countries. How will Mexico?
Well, the problem with doing it online at the bridge is that there's reception issues. Like if I'm at Fasken Rec or if I'm close to the bridge, I'm not gonna be able to make calls because the phones are confused on which system. So we may have drivers going through that same issue where you're telling them to do it online, but they don't have access. Do we have Wi-Fi available?
Well, we can add that to the survey so that we know if it's reception issues on their phone that they can't make a payment. So we'll add that to the survey as well. That's a good point.
Well, maybe we can also just look into having Wi-Fi available within a certain radius of the bridge.
We do have the Wi-Fi extender at World Trade Bridge, and there will be an item coming before council for Bridge 1 also.
Can anybody log into the Wi-Fi? Is it for guests?
We have a bridge Wi-Fi for guests.
Usually the driver won't pay, for that, they have to call the office.
They have to.
And this is mismanaged, Councilwoman. This is, you're a trucker, you have to pay diesel, driver, and bridge toll. That's the first thing that's on anybody that has a truck or has truckers that are crossing. So it's actually mismanaged. Out of the 350, 170, one time a month, yeah, you could miss it once and that's fine. You still got another 170 drivers that are second, third, fourth time, or companies. It's not the driver's fault. It's mostly the company's fault that mismanage it, or they're trying to get the money, send them, I'll pay right now, right today for today's crossing, and they pay at 12 instead of 10, and they've got trucks crossing at 10:30, well, you're late. So it's kind of, on that sense, not really the driver has to pay for it. So I think we have to just go back and think about, again, for third or fourth occurrence, you have to find a way to increment, and I don't have to go through the whole process, increment that fee, because they're just not managing their business well, and it's not just affecting them, like we said, it's affecting everybody. So that's kind of what we think it's.
Yes, and I think most important, again, that's one of the other issues that I have mentioned in the past, is that we need to have a database of the phone numbers of the drivers. We don't have it. So every tag has to be related to our cell phone. Why? Because now we can communicate with the police, with everyone, and especially on low balance. If we don't have this issue, if we don't have the communications, nowadays, I think if we want to grow intelligence in the port, we need the database of the drivers, the phone numbers of the drivers, and that you can put it again into the app, and we can have the balance, and we can have notifications and everything. We have to move it. We have to create the app.
Yeah, we need to look at the confidentiality, because the drivers perhaps may not be the account holders, and it's like your bank.
Yeah, but
So we'll work on.
Nowadays, there is an app for everything.
Yeah.
We're late on that.
We'll continue to explore that.
I stepped out for just a second, but I might encourage you to talk to the Association of Transporte de Carga, the Association of Drainage Drivers, and they've become really good at informing their folks, and they're doing a lot of stuff with customs that we were suffering from as customs brokers, just communication with them. So I would encourage you to talk to them as well.
Definitely.
That's Commissioner Fernandez, no?
Who's not here?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
And the last thing is, when they get a penalty, send them an email. You just got a penalty. That will probably sink in or something. I mean,
We'll
you just paid it.
continue to enhance this process so that
Rub it
we
in.
can
It's got a penalty.
make it better.
Thank you very much for the information, the discussion on the marking as well.
Thank you.
Do we have no more discussion? We can move on to the next item. Anything for other business?
Other business.
I do want to make a comment. I have a traffic town hall on Tuesday at the Fasken Center, if anybody's interested in attending. Congressman Cuellar will be there, Textile will be there, Representative Raymond, also we'll have good, people from the city, so it'll be a good conversation. If anybody is interested, Tuesday at 6 o'clock at the Fasken.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Anything else for other business? Schedule our next meeting date, item number 7. Could be October 26th, Wednesday. Is everybody okay with that date?
When?
October 26th.
We come in our Halloween costumes?
Is it?
We come in our Halloween costumes?
Sure, why not?
Not, don't show up.
Yeah, October 26th, okay with them? So I guess October 26th at 6 PM, Mr. Limon?
And thank you for moving this one. Last month we talked about not conflicting with the symposium.
Correct, which was great.
Which was awesome, but thank you for that.
Great accomplishment. Thank you, Dean, for putting that out. And that's fine with everybody. We'll move to item number 8.
Motion to
Adjournment.
adjourn.
Motion for adjournment.
Second.
Second. All in favor? Aye. Great job. I'm on this. Let's put in the back room. Back goes.
Laredo Day.
Thank you, everybody.